Hello, guys. A very good afternoon to all of you. I'm Dr. Ranjan, your pharmacology faculty at Marrow, and today I have the opportunity to welcome Dr. Pratiksha, rank 4 in INI-CET November 2022. So many congratulations, Pratiksha, and welcome to this session.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
So, Pratiksha, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you an undergraduate from, and what is that you want to pursue, after this?
Yes, sir. I am basically hailing from Hubli, Karnataka, and I pursued my UG from Bangalore Medical College, Bangalore. And I want to pursue in general medicine, particularly neurology.
Okay, so Pratiksha, tell us a little bit about your aim in life. So, is it that you always wanted to join a central institute, or I mean, you're okay with any institute in India?
So I think joining central institutes was my dream, and yesterday when I saw my result, I think it was like a dream come true moment for me.
I can imagine. So, how was the atmosphere at home? How your parents were joyous?
Yes, everybody was very happy with the result.
Yeah, so she performed well in INI-CET May as well, but her thousand something rank was there, but now is rank 4, and she can finally get DM neurology from Niman's dream branch and go ahead with it. So it's a massive improvement, and you're already scoring well. So during these times of from May to November, right? What kept on pushing you? Right? What was the main source of your inspiration going forward?
So I think my main source of inspiration was that I have to put in my best effort and give it everything so that I don't have any regrets later. So I think that kept pushing me forward.
Excellent, excellent. So, Pratiksha, tell us a little bit about your strategy of solving QBank. So, I'm going to ask you some things about QBank because QBank has become one of the most important source for preparation. It is almost the strongest pillar of prep. So, a basic question, right? Students they ask is how many questions or modules does a topper solve in a day? I mean, so how would you go, like solving a definite number of questions or modules in a day, or do you give yourself 3 or 4 hours and solve as many as possible?
So I had fixed my target as around 200 MCQs per day. So I used to solve them
Okay.
in two sets, 100 in the morning and
Mhm.
100 in the evening. And I always solved them in a fixed amount of time so that I could improve my time management skills because that is what I lacked, I felt, in my first attempt. So I made sure that I attempted 100 questions in like say 1 or 1.5 hour. So as to mimic the actual INI exam where you have 200 questions and 180 minutes, you have more questions than the time. So I used to solve 100 questions in 90 minutes or something like that. And that is how I practiced. And my goal was to finish at least like around 10 Q banks per 10 modules per day or something like that initially.
Excellent, excellent. So as you moved ahead with your preparation towards the end of the exam, were you more bullish on the Q bank, like solving more number of questions per day?
No, so like initially when I started my preparation, I used to finish a
Mhm.
topic and then solve topic-wise questions, and
Okay.
then I used to bookmark certain questions. And following the subsequent reading, I did only the bookmark questions, so
Mhm.
that I work out on my weak areas better. I
Okay.
think
So
question bank did help me in that.
so actually, she has said two most important things, like. Usually, I mean, we don't take into consideration the time factor while solving questions in QBank. So she challenged herself to solve a definite number of questions in a given time period. So that's excellent way of pushing yourself to the limits and to fasten up your solving questions QBank. And second, yeah, as you mentioned about bookmark, that is what I was about to come to. Bookmark is an excellent feature, and it has been there since ages. The way we bookmark has changed with the apps around us. So how aggressive were you with the bookmark? So I just give you a rough idea. Give us a rough idea. How many questions would you bookmark? 10%, 15%, 20%?
It depended on the topic, sir. If it was a
Okay.
difficult topic, it would go up to 50% itself. But otherwise, easy topics, I think out of 20, maybe one or two questions. If it was a topic which was very difficult for me, then probably around half of the questions were bookmarks itself. So
Excellent.
in the final revision, so I used to like make custom modules out of the bookmark questions, so that daily I used to keep practicing a mixed bag of questions of different topics, so that I keep revising from different subjects at the same time.
That's an excellent strategy, guys. What she's saying is, while solving the Q bank, I mean, one question which students they often ask me, sir, I'm quite scared. Am I underdoing or overdoing the bookmark? There's nothing like that. It will differ from person to person. It will differ on how strong you are in a topic. As you rightly put, that you can bookmark 50% in some and 1% in some topics if you are strong in that particular topic. So why would you need a bookmark in that? Anyway, so and second important point that she made was, which I liked very much, is she made custom module out of those bookmarks, and again challenging herself. And tell me something. I mean, with passing time and solving the bookmark questions again, did you used to remove those bookmarks with time so that you can again practice those remaining ones?
Yes, with every revision, I made sure the number of bookmarks kept on decreasing, so that I
Okay.
have lesser and lesser topics towards the end. And only the most, I think the weakest topics were left towards the end for me to revise, so that in lesser time I could revise in a better way.
Excellent, guys. So this is another thing we can learn from her, that the bookmark you need to keep on removing once you get a hang of the topic, and you need to keep on decreasing so that the difficult ones, which is for you a particular topic, you can work more on those topics and improve them gradually. So one more thing I'd like to ask you, like QBank is something which you can use to assess ourselves, like how good I am in the topic, right? Second is I can take QBank as a learning tool as well. So was it both for you or was it just for assessment, the QBank?
So it was both a learning as well as an assessment tool. Like depending upon the number of correct questions, I would assess whether I know this topic well or not. And QBank is pretty much holistic. It covers all the topics from every nook and corner of a particular subject. So if I have missed out on any particular topic, then
Mhm.
it used to be there in the question bank, and I used to add that topic to my notes, so that I have like coverage of all the topics per se.
Excellent. So basically, you are using the QBank to fill up the gaps wherever you have some
Yes.
gaps. So you can just, so from that perspective, I'd like to ask you one thing. That is one thing. This is what students they also do ask us is, so should I go through the explanation of each and every question in the QBank? So what was your approach? I mean, would you go through all the explanations or only those questions which you did wrong or the topic you're weak in?
So I went through explanations of only those questions which I felt was wrong, or maybe my approach wasn't right. Even those questions which probably I guessed right and I did not know the exact approach, I made sure I went through the explanation to get to know exactly how I should approach a particular questions. So only the wrong questions and which I had guessed, those I went through the explanations thoroughly.
Yeah, exactly. Because she's making another important point here. You have to understand that there is a limitation of time, right? And if time is limited and you don't have all the time in this world to go through each and every explanation, then you can only go through those explanations or the questions which you did wrong, or you might have done it right, but just by a wild guess, then you can go through the explanations. So excellent. So she has told us pretty much everything about the Q bank. Now, see, another pillar of our preparation is grand tests. And I'd just like to ask you, Pratiksha, is that when did you start giving Marrow grand tests?
So I started giving grant tests in the starting of my internship, and I still remember that my first GT had got around only 130 correct with zero preparation. And
Okay.
towards the end, like just before INI, when I gave a grant test, my number of correct questions increased to 187. So the number of GTs that you give does help a lot. It gives that confidence that
Mhm.
yes, probably your preparation is at this stage at this particular point of time.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about the grand tests. I mean, how many grand tests did you used to give in the initial few months of preparation?
So initially, I started with one GT per month in my internship, and then I
Okay,
subsequently increased to one in 2 weeks. And for the past 6 months, I've been doing GT every week. Like I
every week.
used to give a Marrow GT every week, and I made sure that throughout the week I analyzed whatever was wrong in that particular GT. So the thing is, the key is that even if you haven't started your preparation, it is always better to give a GT so that you identify your weak zones and improve upon that. And with every GT, I made sure that my ladder was climbing so that I got more and more number of correct questions. So analysis was also a very important point.
Excellent. So, I mean, GT, so how would you analyze a grand test? I mean, where is your weaker areas? Would you look at the questions that have done wrong, or would you go through the GT analytics and graphs tool that we have in Marrow app?
Yes, I used to first go through the wrong questions in the first
Okay.
4 days of the week or something like that. And then in the
Hmm.
last 3 days, I used to focus on the bottom three subjects, which I've
Hmm.
got like very less marks. And I used to
Hmm.
work on those subjects, the topics which I had gone wrong. I used to make sure I revised those topics so that in the subsequent GTs, those subjects would never come to the bottom, some other subjects would come. And that is how I used to revise.
Okay, so you used to challenge yourself every time to improve on the weaker ones, and
Yes.
by doing this towards the end, almost everything was like a strong foothold for you. So tell me something. I mean, again, the same thing as with QBank. I'm going to ask you: was GT again a tool for assessment only, or it was a learning tool as well? Why I'm asking this is, did you used to go through the explanation of the questions of GTs and again add on them to your notes to fill up the gaps?
Yes, definitely GT was a learning tool because there were few questions in GT which were from topics which I knew, but there were few newer
Mhm.
topics as well, which probably I
Okay.
might not have focused on in my preparation. So I used to make sure that I went through the explanations to understand which topic exactly was this question asked from and what could be the
Mhm.
possible approach. And I used to add those particular topics to my notes. So that is how GT helped me as a learning tool as well.
Okay, yeah. So grant test is one important aspect that we can understand is one of the strong pillar in our arsenal. And tell us one more thing about these grant tests. See, once you give a grant test, you need to analyze the grant test, how you have performed, right? So many times the students are confused as to how much time should I devote to a grant test to analyze it, right? If I don't have all the time in this world. So how much time would you take to analyze a grant test? A 1 day or a 6 hours or 4 hours? Was there any timeline for analyzing the GT?
So I used to make sure I would take around 2 to 3 hours for analyzing every GT. So I
Okay.
gave in, as I said, I used to give weekly GTs. So in a
Okay.
particular week, every day I used to take half an hour to analyze a particular set of questions. I used to not do a continuous analysis, but every day half an hour, few set of questions I used to analyze and just make out whatever I've done wrong in that. Write them
Mhm.
down, whatever wrong topics I've done, and I used to revise those topics.
So that's amazing. I mean, what she has told is she did not used to go for bolus review of the GT. She would rather break it up, and that is one way of not taxing yourself with too much of questions to analyze on a particular day. No, that's a beautiful strategy, as you can learn from her. So see, all of us, we are different people, right? I might not do everything what a topper does. So see, getting inspired is one thing, copying is another thing. So you can listen to her, get inspired, and take the bits and pieces which are important, which you realize that it can benefit you in your preparation as well. So Pratiksha, tell us that when you are preparing, right? I just want to ask you about an important aspect, psychological aspect of a competitive exam. So a competitive exam, it creates a huge amount of pressure, performance pressure on us. So while giving grant test, now did this used to happen that in some grant tests your performance was less than you expected, or was it like incremental?
Yes, initially, I think in the starting of the preparation, there were few ups and downs, but then
Mhm.
I maintained consistency. Like for the past few months, it was in increasing ladder itself. So I maintained
Mhm.
that consistency. So one thing is that you have to maintain consistency in your preparation. Even if you
Mhm.
study for like 2 hours a day, it's fine. But I think consistency is the key to avoid any possible psychological exhaustion rather than studying 16 hours a day or something like that. I think even if you
Okay.
study mindfully for 2 hours, it will definitely give you an edge over the others.
Okay, excellent, excellent, Pratiksha. So we have talked about a lot about the QBank and GT. So I just at last I'd like to know what kind of a student were you in your UG days, and you need not be humble. Okay, you can brag about what kind of student you were, and it's perfectly fine. What I mean to say is, were you a studious person? Like, see, there are two kinds of students, right? One who would study from exam to exam, be done with it, and gone. Other students, they would study throughout the year. So, what kind of student were you during your UG days?
So I used to maintain a balance between my studies and, of course, other extracurricular activities.
Okay.
So I do not want to brag, but I was a bright student. I have got many gold medals in my
Okay.
UG days as well. So
Okay.
I think there was a balance between studies as well as extracurricular activities.
Excellent. So you are a very good student, meritorious student, and serious. So just tell me, I mean, during the undergraduate period, right? And what were your go-to source for medical information or knowledge? Now, would you go for mostly for the standard textbooks during the UG period?
Yes, sir. I think one needs to learn from standard textbooks at least few topics like where you have doubt or maybe which are important. So
Hmm.
especially I think Robbins and Harrison few topics I used to
Hmm.
read. For rest all I did not go much through the standard textbooks, but these two
Hmm.
definitely are worth mentioning. And of course physiology, Ganong and Guyton.
Gaitan and Guyton. So Guyton, if you have
Yes.
studied Guyton, that means you have a lot of patience. I can say that because it takes almost 1 day for the sodium to move and potassium to come out for depolarization and repolarization. So excellent. So there's one thing, and another aspect I'd like to ask you. I mean, just tell me one thing that clinical postings that we have right during internship and during our UG period, did they have any impact on your score, whatever you have scored? Right? Was it anything you learned from the postings specifically? They helped you to solving questions.
Yes, sir, because we can see that nowadays exams are focusing more on the clinical aspects and the practical aspects rather than
Hmm.
theoretical or factual ones. So definitely postings does help a lot because what we do actually in practice is something which is very different from what is given in the texts, in the Indian scenario especially. And the questions are widely based on that. Especially this year in INI, I could see that there were a few questions from emergencies and a few
Hmm.
very basic clinical questions, which could be
Okay.
solved easily if you have done a good internship.
Excellent, guys. So she's making a good point here that I mean we cannot escape internship no longer. The reason being the exams they are more practical and they are more clinical oriented. So they're going to ask questions which on day-to-day basis you'll see a lot of stuffs, and see you might read things in black and white, but when you see them right colorful way in your life in the emergency in the wards, you tend to remember them for a longer period of time. And finally, tell us, Pratiksha. Tell us something about your hobbies. I mean, what do you like to do in life apart from medical? We are humans, right? We tend to sing, dance, work out. So, what was your go-to mojo?
Yes, I like to listen to songs a lot, and I
Mhm.
like to sing as well.
Oh
And
my God.
apart from that, I like to participate in debates or maybe speeches or do anchoring or something like that in fests.
Okay, okay. So you are more like stage philic person. You're not stage
Yes.
phobic person, right? So that's great. That's great. And just one more thing, like while you are preparing, and throughout the day, obviously you cannot study. So how did you fill your days? The 1 or 2 hours in between. Did you used to do something to remove the fatigue or monotonity of preparation?
Yes, sir. I used to listen to songs as well as take walk or maybe play
Okay.
badminton or something like that. So
Okay,
that kind
yeah.
of refreshed my mind a lot.
Yeah, so this is one point which I tell students time and again is you need to do some kind of physical activity. It may not be a gym or us playing soccer or cricket. It can be just brisk walk for half an hour in a park. Even that releases some endorphins and it cheers you up. And you know you have to do these things in between. So it's not only about studying because we are not computers. We do not run on algorithms. We are humans. We run on hormones, endorphins. So we need to fire them up. So Pratiksha, again, many congratulations from me for the entire team Marrow to you for this great of an achievement. And we sincerely hope that you achieve whatever you desire in your life and become a great of a neurologist and have a great life ahead. And most importantly, have a life which is full of happiness, health, and peacefulness. Thank you very much for
Thank you, sir.
coming here today.
Thank you.